Mother's Day. As you know, we're still in our Life Hack series and we're learning all about the book of Proverbs and wisdom. And what better place to get wisdom than from our moms? So we went to ask some kids in KXP, what's the best advice that their mom gives them? What's advice your mom always gives you?
To never give up when something hard is coming and up, and you're just like always be nice to people. She sometimes say yes or no, and I like her because she's nice to me. Always do homework.
Always do homework. I love it. Well said.
To be good.
Before I walk into my house, I always have to first take off my shoes.
My mom tells me to sit down and be quiet.
She tells me to get dressed.
To get dressed. That's great advice. We all need that advice every morning, right?
You want to give up, but
Her loves me.
She loves you? That's so good. Does she ever tell you maybe to do something or not to do something?
Yes.
What does she tell you to do or not to do?
Not to spit or hit.
What is some advice that your mom always gives you? Well said, well said. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
she tells me the right things are always right, even if no one else is doing it.
That's great advice. Thank you, Maddox. Anything else your mom always says?
I think that's it.
That's it.
Clean up my room.
Clean up her room. That's good advice we all need, right? Yeah.
You want to give up, but my mom always says you never give up because the next thing you know, you might be there and you might be the best at it.
That's awesome. I love it, Jay. Thank you so much.
Hey, happy Mother's Day to all of our campuses, all of you worshiping online at all kinds of places. You're sending me pictures from gymnasiums where you're working at where I need to be, down on the coast, and there are folks that are out on the oil rigs out all over the place. We're so glad to be with you. And let me tell you about Mother's Day. I've preached about 25 or 30 Mother's Days, and it's always kind of complicated because some of you have lost your moms. And we certainly grieve with you. Some of you have lost children, and it's heartbreaking. We've been with you when that's happened. And for some of you, you want to have children, you can't. And we want to pray for you and pray over you. And for some of you, you're just discouraged. And I talk to moms all the time, and there's like, hey, I just feel like I'm failing, and I just feel like I'm discouraged because you're under so much pressure. And you're under religious pressure. You're asking, am I godly enough? Do I take my kids to church enough? For some of you, it is like social pressure. Are we being active enough? Are my kids getting behind in sports and school and all the camps and things? For some of you, it's personal pressure where you actually say to yourself, I'm not a good mom. For most all of you, if you're on social media, it's the pressure. Do you feel like you're hot? You're a hot mom, because and with the social media, not only do you have to do everything that moms do, you got to look good. And it dawned on me that's a pressure. Obviously, not concerned about myself, but the reality is when you look around, like Khloe Kardashian, I saw this a couple of weeks ago. Did you see this? Where Khloe, she's 36, she's a mom. And somebody leaked a photograph of her that was unfiltered. Oh my goodness. And so she made them take it off immediately. Take that off, take that off all the social media because it wasn't a filtered picture. And I'm thinking, wow, what a terrible life to have to live in a filtered world where everything you do has got to look a certain way. And I started kind of looking into this, and I didn't know, but like your cameras have filters on them. You can filter yourself. And so I thought maybe I would check into it. What does it look like unfiltered and filtered? And so I want to show you some of those concepts so that you know what I'm talking about of unfiltered and filtered. This is Khloe, okay? And somebody did a rougher picture of it before and after, but this is unfiltered and filtered. The next one is, of course, that's Brittany. And that's unfiltered, still looking pretty good, and filtered, and then, yes, in a cosmopolitan in Russia. And then here's another one that's the Bieber. And we had to crop this one because there was some filtering going on that was not appropriate for church. And but it's still the Bieber. And here's one that's unfiltered. This is things I have to cover. I would never do that. I don't know how that. This is what I cover up every Sunday, and it's a burden to have to cover this up. But I don't want you to stumble. I don't want to cause you to stumble in the process. Okay, I think we got that. Well, here's the things, Mom. I want you to know. Take it down. My word. But Mom, so we want you to know we understand that what you're going up against seems to be impossible. And so today I've got a message for you. It's a message of encouragement. I'm going to read a passage. You're going to go, I hope you don't read that passage because it's not a passage I really like. But let me give you a word to kind of start with, a filter to start with, and we'll have a filter to end with that I think can change your life. So to begin with, Proverbs 31:30 says, and this is really good, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who loves the Lord and honors the Lord is to be celebrated and praised. So that's the filter I want you to get right out of the chute, that yes, you're charming and yes, you're beautiful, but as you grow older, trust me, those things are going to fade. But a woman that honors the Lord and reverences the Lord in word and deed is going to be celebrated. So today I want to read about that and tell you how you can do that and how to encourage you in that out of Proverbs 31. And it's a chapter that most women hate. Because when you read this chapter, I've had people say to me, like, hey, when you do my funeral, people put in like early, for me, like, hey, when you do my funeral, hey, you're still alive. I said, I know, why don't you do my funeral? I said, well, what if I'm out of town? Well, you come back. But they're like, hey, if you do my funeral, do not read that passage. Because there's no way I'm ever going to measure up to a Proverbs 31 woman. When I was in seminary, guys would talk about meeting the P31. It was funny because those guys were losers, man. I'm like, hey, to marry a P31, you got to be like a P20. You got to kind of step up your game. So as I'm reading this, I don't want you to check out because I'm going to come back with 3 things you need to understand about how amazing moms are and how amazing women in general are, okay? So this is Mother's Day, Proverbs 31. I want you to hear this because it's really amazing of what King Lemuel, all these are little clues, okay? I'm going to come back at the end, give you the filter. King Lemuel says about a wife of noble character, and he's talking about a woman. I'm going to tell you who it is at the end. Proverbs 31:10. A wife of noble character who can find, she's worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good and not harm all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it, and out of her earnings she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for the task. She sees that her trading is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grabs the spindle with her fingers. She opens up her arms to the poor. She extends her hands to the needy. I'm exhausted. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household, and she does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, he praises her. He says, many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. And charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord, who reverences him, is to be praised. So honor her for all that her hands have done. Let her works bring her praise in the city gates. Are you tired yet? I read that and I'm thinking, man, if I was a woman listening to that, I would think, my word, there's no way I can measure up to this P31. What's going on? Well, 3 things that I want you to get and take with you. And the first is moms who honor God have a powerful influence on their families. I mean, can we agree with that? I mean, moms who love the Lord and moms who are wanting the best for their family. It's like that old song, Wind Beneath My Wings. You know, I love that song. It's a cheesy song. It's the idea, you know, it must have been cold there in my shadow. And they start singing. But you know, a woman is the one that made that popular. And here's the thing about a great mom. Here's the thing about a person that just does their best. It says, I want to give God my very best. Man, they take their family and they elevate their family in a way that men can't. I can't explain that. I mean, we know dads are fun, but moms mean business. I mean, when moms show up, you better get it right. And God has made you unique from the very beginning. In Genesis chapter 2, you go back and read Genesis 1, and God is creating. It is good, it is good, it is good, it is good, it is good. He gets to Genesis 2, and he says, Adam is all alone, and God says, it is not good. It's not a good thing for a man to be alone because there is something missing there. He would always be lost. He would always be lonely. When God made a woman, he made her as a corresponding one, a unique person that kind of brought something that Adam just didn't have with her personality and with the way she saw things and the way she lived. Legend has it that Adam asked God 2 questions. He said, God, why did you make Eve so beautiful and soft? And God says, so that you would love her. He said, but why did you make her so foolish at times? And he said, so she would love you. I mean, let's just be honest that God understands us. And I can't explain the superpowers of a mom. I mean, moms just have grit. Moms have intuition. Mom knows they know how to get things done. When I was growing up, and this was a long time ago, obviously, but my family, we were really poor, and I'm not trying to do that uphill both ways in the snow, no shoes. But we were very, very poor, and I remember I played football, and my dream was to play, for Bear Bryant, God's team, Alabama, and I remember in elementary school, I had this helmet that was one of those plastic kind of helmets, you know, that really you weren't supposed to play football with. It's all my family could afford, and I was wearing that plastic helmet. And I mean, back then you hit people head to head, pow, pow, you know, and you didn't hit them right here. You didn't hit them with the shoulder. Don't be a girl, you know. You hit them head to head, pow, that's what's wrong with me. And so I was, and my helmet started getting cracked in the back, and the coach said to my mother, you got to get him a helmet. We don't provide helmets. You got to find him a helmet. She said, where do I go get him? He said, go to Florence. And she said, that's an hour away. He goes, well, that's all the place I know to tell you to go get a helmet. And I remember this 50 years ago. My mom driving with me to Florence, Alabama, and going into Hibbett's Sporting Goods and walking in and saying, my son needs a helmet. And the guy, of course, was a great salesman, took her over to the very nicest helmet they had. I guess the college players wear it. I mean, it was one of those, you know, helmets that was designed just right and said, this will protect him from concussions. This will help him do whatever. And she said, well, that's one we need. Let's get it. And so he brought it over to the counter. And I remember this vividly and her saying, how much does it cost? And he said, $64.99. And I remember looking at my mother and looking at the guy and looking, you know, thinking, we don't have $64.99. There's no way this is going to work out. And her somehow reaching down in her purse and finding money, and she started counting that out like it was $1 million and counting it all the way down. I think I've got the correct change. And I'll never forget that. Because moms can't make it, but they can make it happen. And you know that you've got a story like that. Moms change the world. Moms are powerful. And moms have invaluable expertise in every field of life. See, Proverbs 31 is not just she goes out and does this and she goes out and does that. I mean, no one person could do all those things. This is what he is saying 2,700 years ago, ladies. The Bible is not a male chauvinistic book written by men for men. He's saying 2,700 years ago, he's saying, women, there's nothing you can't do. He said, she's a CEO. She's into international business. She's a real estate mogul. She can do anything. She teaches with authority. She teaches with expertise. She manages a household. Have you ever tried to manage the household, man, when your wife is gone and you got the kids? You know it's a disaster. You pray, God, please bring her back home. Please bring her back home. Listen, she creates opportunities for her husband. I said this at the early service, and Alicia's not here, but some of my kids are here, and I'll say this. When we got married, Alicia put me through college. We got married in college. I couldn't wait any longer. Love that one. Beautiful. Awesome. Put me through seminary. She worked so I could get seminary degrees and serve in churches and get experience. We got here. She said, I'm going to help raise the kids and I'll kind of work and I'm going to put you so you can get your doctorate. And all through these years, behind the scenes, Alicia has done whatever it took to make sure that we reach more people and we grew more churches, and most people don't even know her name. Men, can I challenge you to encourage your wife to live her dreams? I didn't do that, and I was ignorant. I controlled, I possessed, I made it all about me. And I thought, well, the best thing you can do is to help me reach all these people by you making sure everything's great at home. And then I'll go out here and I'll conquer the world. You'll be my princess. Wasn't she lucky? Man, can I encourage you to encourage your wife to figure out what God has for her? I'm not saying that she shouldn't help at home. I'm not saying she shouldn't lead with the children. I'm saying figure out what she wants to do with her life. Stop limiting her and stop comparing her. Craig Rochelle said this, I love it. The fastest way to kill something special is to compare it to something else. Man, can I encourage you to never say, hey, did you see so-and-so? Do you see what she's doing for work? I mean, can you believe she's making that much money? Do you see what she made for dinner? Do you see how clean that house was? Can you believe? Do you see how she's working out all the time? We're going to start a new ministry here called the Slapping Ministry. And we're going to encourage wives to bring their husbands up to the church and line them up. And we got some big young guys, and they're going to just you walk up and go, well, I've been comparing them. Going to do a slapping ministry. Don't ever compare them. Thirdly, moms who honor God deserve affirmation every day. Yeah, cry out every day. Because they deserve it every single day. Do you know the Jewish family, what they do on the weekends when they have the Sabbath? Every weekend, every Sabbath, they read Proverbs 31, 28 and 29. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Now, maybe you're a mom and you're not getting that kind of encouragement, but it may not be your season. So let me kind of show you the seasons of appreciation so you'll know your time is coming, okay? So when your child is 4, you heard a lot of our children, my mama loves me, she tells me she loves me, my mama can do anything. At 12, well, my mama doesn't know everything. We've been through this if you have older kids. At 15, my mama doesn't know nothing. Ain't gonna never know nothing, okay? At 25, mom knows a few things. At 35, mom knows a lot. At 45, I wonder what mom would say. At 65, I wish I could talk to my mom. Listen, affirmation for your mom is in the top 10 list. It's number 5. Honor your mother. Build her up. Do some things before she asks you. I mean, you want to honor your mom? Don't just give her a card. Why don't you make your bed up? Yeah, mom, yes. Let's give that a hand. Yeah, make your dadgum bed up. Yeah. How about pick your clothes up? Yeah, pick your clothes up. Yeah. You know what you could do? You really want to show her, thank you, I don't know who did that, but you're amazing. And I love you. But I tell you another thing you could do. There's this thing you can do. They're doing now, a lot of people are doing. They'll take a rag and put some soap on it and put it against it like a plastic thing and wash it. It's called washing the dishes. And you could try some of that. And husbands, you can build her up. Did you know that you encouraging your wife allows you to live longer as husbands? They did a psychological study. Hang with me. They did a psychological study. This is not in the Bible. They did a psychological study. It came out last year, and I found it. You can Google it. The psychological study was husbands who kiss their wives before work every morning live 5 years longer than those who don't. Let the kissing begin. He has fewer automobile accidents. He misses 50% less work. He earns 25% more than non-kissing husbands. Men, encourage your wives. Build them up. You can make it selfish. You can live a little bit longer. You can make some more money. Just be nice to her. In case you think this is just coming from a man's perspective, I want you to hear a word from my wife about being a mom. I want you to listen to this. I thought I would interview a mom and a wife, happens to be my wife, the mom of our 3 kids that are grown and our 5 grandchildren. And let me ask you, was there a time, I was trying to remember back, you kind of blocked these things out when our kids were little. Was there a time you just felt like you were a failure and got discouraged?
You know, I think God does give us that grace of forgetting all the bad times and remembering a lot of the good times. But there was when, you know, and you've kind of hit on this before in a sermon, that when we struggled with Hunter and just speech and behavior and a lot of things, that it was a very dark time for me. Yeah. And I remember getting so down and I just wanted to quit. It was like I wanted to throw the towel in. And you encouraged me to get away for a couple of days.
Yeah, I remember all that.
And I did. And the whole time I was gone, I didn't watch TV. I didn't do anything other than I prayed, I fasted, and begged the Lord, give me an answer.
And strength.
I need you. You know, God, I just need you. And at the end of that time, I remember God clearly spoke to me and said, Alicia, I have chosen you to be their mom, and I have equipped you. I am with you. You are not in this alone. And I remember coming back home, and the circumstances were still the same. We still had the same struggles, but my heart was different. I really felt the Lord speaking to my heart saying, I've got you in this, and I'm with you. And it just really, it just renewed my heart and gave me strength to, I still had the struggles, you know, but it really helped me.
Well, do you ever compare yourself with other moms or, you know, it's hard not to, because we've got a lot of great friends who are great people, but do you ever feel that struggle of competition?
I did. Probably still do. I think it's always been a struggle, I think, especially for women. I remember one time Christine Kane said something that made an impact, and I may not be saying it correctly, but she said, run your race in your lane. You know, don't get out of your lane. Stay focused on what I've called you to do. And I took that, and it really resonated with me, that don't look to the left or to the right. Don't compare yourself, because, you know, they say that, you know, the better or prettier or the house is cleaner. It's that ER, the syndrome.
Yeah.
And I would do that a lot. But when hearing Christine Kane say that, it really helped me to stay on my purpose. You know, what has God called me to do? Well, He's called me to be an incredible wife to you, to provide a safe home for you and for the children, and to raise godly children. And so that's what I stayed focused on. It was hard.
Yeah.
Parenting is hard, let me say that.
Well, having said that, because we have churches, buildings full, and people watching, that a lot of young families, what would you say to the moms who are where you were when our kids were little and who may be a little bit discouraged today?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Yeah. I would say to be present, to not give up, to really be present with your children, because you're their greatest cheerleader. And it is hard. The struggle is real. Comparison is real, but that's the end game as far as there's no winning in that. So I would really encourage moms to just love your children in such a way that it glorifies God. I remember a lot of times the importance of just having family time, sit around the dinner table, read to your children at night from the Word, Bible stories, pray with them at night. In the mornings when they go to school, we would lay our hands on our children before they went to school and we prayed a blessing over them. Moms, do that. Those are the things that are important.
Why don't you pray a prayer for the moms as they're doing this amazing task that means so much? Just pray encouragement and blessing over them.
Okay. Father, thank you so much for just the incredible job of being a mother, that it is hard, it's difficult, but God, you tell us in your word that you are with us and you'll never leave us. God, I pray that each mom today would hear you whispering in her ear that how much you love her, that she is unique and she is special. God, when she gets discouraged, when she feels like that she's at the end of her rope, God, that you would just fill her up with grace and mercy and your love. And God, I pray that you would surround her with godly friends who will pour into her and speak truth. God, I couldn't have done it without our group of friends that I could be vulnerable with. God, I pray that you would give her godly counsel. God, give her wisdom. And Father, I just pray that they would feel encouraged and not let Satan sneak into the cracks and tell them lies. Father, I just pray that they would believe your truth and see themselves how you see them, as beautiful and just a precious daughter. God, for all of these things we ask in your Son's name, amen.
Amen.
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, she's so great. I want to give you something before we leave, a filter. I'm going to take the filter off Proverbs 31. Can I do that? Because there's a filter, and I never saw this before. 35, 40 years studying the Bible, I've never seen this before. That there's a filter on Proverbs 31 because it's written by King Lemuel, and you're like, well, who's King Lemuel? It means one set apart to God. I think it was Bathsheba who gave her son Solomon that pet name, and he's saying, the lens of, that's my mama. That's how I see my mother. See, I don't know where you're coming from today, where you're saying, well, you know, I could never be that because I've done this and that. Do you know where Bathsheba, how she and David got together? She was taking a bath, and I'll do this real quick. King David saw her, called her over to the palace, was with her. She got pregnant. David had her husband killed. Proverbs 31, woman. Seen through the lens of a son who loved her. Every time you hear Bathsheba's name, it's the wife of Uriah, listed in the genealogy. You say, well, I don't have a son that feels, but there's another son that looks at you that way. It's Jesus. The great grandmothers of Jesus were Tamar, Rahab the prostitute, Ruth, and Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah. Because a woman who reverences the Lord is to be celebrated. You're seen through the lens of a son, a doting son who loved you enough to die for you on the cross. Because you and I are both sinners. But when you receive that free gift and you embrace that, you're seen as a princess, as a son and daughter of God. So no matter where you've been, Mom, no matter what you've done, today you can be seen as amazing, incredible. Proverbs 31, Mom. Would you bow your heads? God, I look around at people in this room that I love. And God, I pray that they would breathe out competing and comparing just every day, because it comes every day, competing and comparing. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. No, I'm not going to compare. I'm not going to compete with that. I have my lane, and I'm going to breathe in receiving and believing the lens of the gospel that I'm made new in you. Father, I pray that that is our prayer. I pray that you'd bless the moms, the young women in this room. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.